Hello! Welcome to Confidence Through Cabaret. I'm
Hi.
Heather, and I'm joined today by the wonderful and amazing performer Ryan,
Hello.
also known as Sis. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Hi. How are you doing?
Oh, hi. Oh, hey. So we're really excited because this is an opportunity for us to talk to you in the community about you'll know by now that we talk about personal life, work life, and stage life in Confidence Through Cabaret, and about building confidence in each of the areas of our life. And lots of us are confident in some areas and not so confident in other areas, and really what we're trying to do is just kind of enable people to find the areas of our life where we don't feel as aligned, we don't feel as confident, and we'd like to be. So today I have the privilege of being able to talk with Ryan about uh, about about stage life a little bit, but also about work life, because as you know by now, with Confidence Through Cabaret has an amazing set of tools that we can apply to being more confident in other areas of our life as well. And so welcome, Ryan.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yay, this is fun.
It is fun.
Yay, having you here.
I lit
So
candles. Look, I'm very in the mood. I'm in the zone.
it's very staged. It's very
Hi.
beautiful.
Why, thank you.
So thank you for the effort. We we're talking today about, kind of the analogy of stage life and work life, and Ryan, as well as being an amazing performer, through singing, through hosting, through performing in burlesque and in drag. Um, Ryan has a lot of experience to share with us around producing and around putting a show together, which is very much like building a business. And so it's a wonderful analogy for us. And when you think about, maybe you haven't been to a show or produced a show before, but you must have been to some sort of, you'll understand what goes into a show if you think about it, all the way from deciding what you're going to do, all the way through to making an amazing experience for your audience. And that analogy, we all have an audience at some point, particularly if you think about our work life. Ryan, tell us a little bit about how you got into producing shows.
Well, so my start was in the club circuit. So when I first was doing drag, I launched with a slightly different character, and I was working with a group of people. It was a cooperative, queer punk cooperative called Psychodrama. And when we started that, it was kind of my first foray. I was DJing and hosting and doing stuff, and I was sort of club hosting, which is very different from being, stage hosting. You're just kind of going around talking to everybody, which is a very different sort of set.
Yeah.
But we kind of, in that, started working with local performers when we were doing larger nights and putting on we were doing a lot of fundraising activities and things like that. So started working within the local burlesque scene, and everything kind of took off from there. It was very much a case of, we were putting these things together. We sort of wanted to do something a little bit more with the club night. We had a different ethos to a lot of different club nights that were going on at the time within Bristol, to do with the sort of queer punk scene. So we were like, right, okay, let's try something different, and let's bring in, burlesque and cabaret and do these special one-off nights. And that was a real crash course. That was a real crash course, but it was amazing. And it was the ultimate gateway for me, because once I took that initial step into it, it was kind of a snowball,
So you didn't plan to start this as like a business and producing shows. It just kind of happened?
Yeah, that's very much it. I was looking for something that was a new expression for me. I wasn't finding the club scene particularly inspiring in the way that I wanted it to be. I was very much inspired by these kind of by the New Romantics and by the original Club Kids and people like Squeaky Blonde and all these, you know, these kind of wild creative people. And I really wanted to kind of bring another dimension to that kind of club life again and see that in Bristol. And I was kind of hanging out in the alternative scene and the goth scene and moving in between the, you know, these places, and it was really fun. But I didn't intend to go into it like that. You know, two friends of mine wanted to put the club night together, and then I started working with them and hosting from the very first. And then I became sort of one of the main producers, and helped. I was actually probably one of the longest running there for 5 years before I kind of went into burlesque full time, pretty much.
Amazing, amazing. But isn't it, I mean, so many of us, you know, we kind of don't, we think we know what we want to do, we have an
Yeah.
interest, and then
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden the paths just kind of expose themselves to us, and we can kind of see where we're meant to go, or where we think
Exactly.
we're meant to go anyway, our next step maybe. And a lot of times, you know, we think we have to have it all figured out, and we think we have to know what we're doing, and we don't. And
Yeah.
if you think, like, there are so many parts of each of our lives where we weren't expecting it, and
No.
then it appeared for us, and we took the path. And
Exactly.
that's the same, you know, whether you're starting a new business, whether you're taking on a new job, or, you know, maybe a job in a different industry, but, you know, transferring your skills. And this is what we keep saying in Confidence Through Cabaret, is that it is transferable, and it
Yeah.
is, you know, it really is. Uh, you know, our lives are not meant to be all really figured out, you
No.
know. and and there's wonderful strength in finding those pathways, and just taking them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so when you got into production, then take us through the sort of steps of, you decide you're going to produce a show.
Yeah.
What needs to happen? What goes into that?
Well, first thing I would always suggest is, and this is true of any business. One of the things I would suggest is look at what other people have already done, and then
Hmm.
work within that framework and try and establish your own. So it's very much the case of, see what I learn from industry professionals, see where we fell down, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
What I kind of did was, I had a very specific idea of how things would look and how things would work, as in, like, you know, what the staging would be like, or what, you know, X, Y, and Z would be like within the confines of the space that we were using. And I just kind of started figuring out, okay, who do I need to find? Where do I need to find them? How am I going to bring them in? How am I going to work with them? Especially as the first full event that I really ran myself was called Speakeasy. It was a cabaret themed event, which was working with a local dance school who were brilliant. And I kind of was like, right, okay, I need to go and speak to these people, see what they know, see how amenable they'd be to cooperating and working together, and kind of take
Yeah.
it from there. So it was very much, find out what you need to know, find out where your people are, and then kind of work within that system and start gathering that information. That was crucial. I knew what I wanted in terms of a theme and a concept, but I really needed to know, like, how to find these people and how to do that, you know, casting calls, that sort of thing. These are
Right.
all transferable, because they're all very much the same thing. They're all, if you go to a job interview or if you're starting out, you need to know the basics about the company. You need to know who you're going to be interviewed by. You need to know how you're going to present yourself, you know. And all of these things were crucial to putting together those first events, and have been very much crucial on the journey through.
Amazing. I'm actually willing to bet that there's something that happens in between those two steps of, you know, you're going to produce a show.
Yeah.
The path is clear for where your next steps are.
Yeah.
And then you look at what other people have done or are doing that's working or not working.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to bet that there's something between that and the moment when you start looking for, you know, where you're going to source that from. So whether that was, you know, if you're in the job market, where the jobs are, or in your case, where you can have performers join you from. Um, at that point, do you have a concept of what it is that you're trying to do, or are you just kind of like
Yes.
looking for performers? Like, I feel like there's something in between
You are absolutely
deciding
correct.
to do it and finding your performers.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. I think it's because I always start with my concept. I almost
Mm-hmm.
sometimes forget that it has to be brought in as the very first, so because it's the very first part for me. That's always the thing. So I have to have a strong concept, which I'm also
Mm-hmm.
probably strongly emotionally tied to in some way. So
Okay.
I always need to find something that is going to inspire me, especially if I'm doing a club night or committing to a project or a record. Any of these
Yeah.
things, I need to have a strong investment in them, and I need to know that I want to do it. So I have to have that initial drive and impetus and creative idea. So I'll often sit there and go through any number of different things, concepts, different things that I wanted to try, and then narrow those down before doing a casting call. You can't do a casting call without knowing what you're casting. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it can be don't get me wrong, you can very easily sort of say, I would like to do a burlesque night, for instance. And that's what many people might think, oh, I can do a burlesque night. What kind of burlesque?
Yeah.
What
So you're
style? How do you
deciding.
want it to move? So you've got to know those nuances a little bit before you know it, before you do it. Do you see what I mean? So you do have to start
Yeah.
with that concept and flesh it out fully.
So at that stage, are you thinking about what, obviously you're thinking about what you're passionate about and what kind of theme or angle you
Mm,
want to take on it, which would be true of anybody starting a business, for example.
yeah.
But are you also thinking about what's going to sell, like what your audience wants, or does that come later?
So my belief wholly is that if you truly love and truly care about the product that you're putting out, regardless of whether that is a record, a book, an event, a show, anything, if you believe in that fully and have full commitment to it, and that passion shows, that passion is infectious. That
Mhm.
passion does extend very quickly outwards, and you will start finding the people that resonate with that. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, not every event works to sell out. They just don't. Not every time it does. We will always have those events where you think, I have got this, I am on lock, I know it. And then there's 5 people. I've certainly done it. Certainly done it.
Yeah.
You know?
But so has every conference speaker, so has everybody offering an online course, so
Yeah.
has everybody that's applied for jobs that they think I'm perfect for this, and
Yeah.
for whatever reason it just doesn't happen.
And the trick
I mean,
always
I
knowing
get this
that.
kind of like, I don't want to belittle this, because I actually want to uplift
Mm,
the cabaret community,
mm,
but it's a little bit like if you were inviting people to a party,
mhm.
you don't know if they're going to come or not. But
Yeah.
if you really want to do it, you can have a great time even if 5 people show up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
And every time there was always something that I loved about those tiny gigs with 5 people.
yeah,
There's always been something wonderful about it. It doesn't matter. The truth is, the success aspect of what you do kind of really is internal. Um,
right.
so I think it's less about. Obviously, it's very much an important step in business if you're trying to specifically sell a viable product, or something like that, or you're trying to make a very specific product. That success does not come necessarily overnight, and that there will be many different avenues and pathways. So, say for instance, I wanted to put on a club night at one point that was based on Southern blues, heavy grunge and rock and that sort of stuff. And it was a really fun night. We came up with this whole thing. There was a whole concept. I posted and flyed. I did all of the normal things that I could have possibly done. Got one night that I could have done it on. I had the whole thing set up, ready. I went to local stores, decorated the entire venue so it looked like a sort of kind of swamp sort of thing. We had this whole thing about, it was like a swamp thing night, so we were doing like this Babes in Toyland thing and recreating album covers. And I think about 10 people turned up. And it was possibly at that point the most lavish one that I'd done, that we had nobody there. But the people who did come loved it. They danced all night. There were people that were walking past on the street. They heard the music. They came in. They stayed. And those people were the ones who I really had a great time with, and I enjoyed it. I could have been defeated, but I could have, and I was a little bit, but at the same time, I could then say, oh, well, I actually have a bunch of friends over there who are dancing. Then there's a bunch of other people who are really enjoying themselves. And this event may not have worked, but there's some elements of this that did. And whatever those elements are is what I can focus on next to bring that into a more successful event and just kind of learn from it. There's always that moment of learning and you know, pivoting and doing all that sort of stuff where you kind of, you can, if you get a knockback or if you have a moment where you're just like, oh, that didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to, there's that moment of assessing and going, okay, well, what do I still feel passionate about? And how do I steer that to my audience and make it more available to them? It's not about, my theory is that it's not about people not necessarily liking the style or the image or the concept or anything like that. It's how do you make sure that everybody else is enjoying it in the same way that you can, or getting something from it in a way that will make them feel like they're having fun. So, or invested or passionate. So it's all about that transference of passion for me. And I think that's true of any project. No matter what you're doing, if you're passionate about it, that will show. That always shows.
Yeah. Yeah. And those 10 people presumably go away and they talk about it and they share it. And then people say, oh man, I missed it. I want to go to the next one. So,
and then they came back, and I still see some of those people at shows in Bristol now.
And those are your super fans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And friends. You know, there's lots of people who've come to those shows over the years. I mean, as I say, I've been doing Cabaret for 10 years. And I've been doing club promotion and all sorts of different things in that time on small scale and larger scale. And it's like, you can never predict it. You can only do your best. And when things don't quite work out, if you have that passion and drive, it will continue. You might take a moment, take a rest, take that time to reformulate, but that passion is what will keep you going. And I fully believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, you know, a lot of people are talking about mindset, and that's a very hot topic always, but especially right now with what we've been through in 2020. And I think, you know, you can talk about mindset and you can talk about getting that mind right, that so that when you hit adversity and you know, in this case, 10 people is still great.
Yes.
But it's, you know, when you hit those times where it didn't go as you hoped or expected, then that passion will see you through. And yes, you do need to have your mindset right about, you know, defining success or even redefining success.
Yes.
But but you're so right that if it's coming from a place of passion, then that will help you to be able to learn from those things and keep going.
Exactly.
And that's true regardless, you know. That's true of, you know, if in your personal life you were trying to do something and it didn't go how you wanted, then it's not, well, this is ruined now. It's okay, so but what's learning from that? Because I still really feel it, that I want to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So okay, so you have the opportunity, and then you create your concept, and then you look at what people are doing in the market, and then you look for, in your case, performers, but suppliers, let's say, if you're transferring this. And then what happens next?
Well, at a certain point, you go from wanting to conceptualize to putting it out there. So we've often talked in the All Caps Challenge, as well as on a number of occasions, about the importance of being able to commit openly to your intention. So once you've gathered your resources, you've gathered your action plan, you know what you want to do, and you know how you want to do it, you've structured it, you've put it to a degree of okay, I wanted to start at, say, this time and end at this time. That's the parameters I've got to work with. I've got these many performers coming, so I need to have X, Y, and Z number of tickets sold, or I need to have this policy on the door to make up the thing to pay them, or I need to set this aside and do this, you know. So once you've done that, the big thing is then you've got to say it. You've got to commit to it quite loudly in some form. And for me, you know, if we're running a club night, for instance, that's going to be putting that poster out there, making that event, and putting it out on all social media. And
yeah,
that is very similar. In
that's a huge step. I don't. Sorry to interrupt, but that like you just make then you put it out there. Actually, let's just think about that. Like, how many times have we had to put ourselves out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not so easy.
And this is the thing.
How do you do that?
Well, this is the thing, because this is what I was going to say. It's very similar to a job application in lots of ways, because if you're taking that moment and going, okay, I need to do this, you know, the first step in the application process, the first way of making it real is by downloading, say, the application or getting your CV ready, committing to that, and then putting it out. And yes, that is something that you have to kind of work up to. And one of the best ways that I find of doing that is by rechecking in with kind of the passion before you do something. So if you're having that moment of, can I do this? How do I do this? Why did I think I could do this? You know, which again, we all have. I'm very much an introverted extrovert. And I can very much overthink things and get very like, oh God, am I doing this right? And when that comes up, I have to check back in with my conviction, my passion, and sit there and go, right, okay, do you care about this enough? Do you love this enough? Do you want to do this? And then once I've gone through those three things, those questions, do you want to, you know, these are simple questions you can ask yourself, but they really allow you to check back in with your intention and reset that before you go in. And no matter what, again, it always comes back to that intention and passion. Because if you're feeling rocked, if you're feeling, oh God, I don't know what to do, if you come back to that passion and you go, I know that I love this, I know that other people will love this too, then that will make it so much less scary. And one of the things that I often say as a host, and I've said this to any number of performers, especially performers who are doing it for the first few times, and I had very good advice when I was first starting out from Tuesday Laveau, who famously said, you know, never apologize, never explain to me. And I was like, yes. I had very good advice, and I've always tried to say this to people since when they're nervous backstage. The real truth of the matter is that the largest portion of the people that you're going to see online or in whatever sphere that you're doing don't actually want you to fail. And this is something that I've had to learn along the way, because the voice of anxiety and the voice of doubt is very strong, and I understand that completely, definitely. But the thing I've noticed along the years, from hosting, from watching, more importantly, from the sides of the stage and from the wings and seeing these people perform and do their thing, is that no matter what, whenever you take to your stage, the very fact of the matter is 90%, if not more, of the people in your life want to see you succeed. And that's the same in most areas of your life. Truthfully, if you're going in to do these things, people don't want to see someone come in and have a bad time. They want to come in and see someone doing well and succeeding and enjoying themselves and doing a great job and having fun at the same time. That's what people want to see, truthfully. And when I've seen performers backstage who are like, I don't know if I can do this, it's the first time, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I've always just been like, right, take a breath. Remember, everybody in the audience is really wanting to see you have fun and do a good job. They just want you to have a great time, because they'll have a great time when you are. And the shift in that perception of what people appear to believe by our own, construction, then to what we actually feel ourselves is a very different mindset, and you're shifting that positioning, and that's really important. So when you're getting to that point of like, oh God, how do I say this out loud? The majority of people in your life, there's a reason that they're in your life. They want to see you succeed. So if you're going to put that out there, they're going to support you in some way. They're going to believe in you. And if they don't believe in you, then you don't need them. That's the harsh fact of the matter. If they don't believe in you, then it doesn't matter, because the largest portion of those people want to support you and want to see you succeed.
Amazing.
Thank you.
So this all sounds fairly straightforward. You know, you find the opportunity, you find your passion, you put it together. How, I'm gonna guess that you've had performers cancel. I'm gonna guess that you've had venues even probably cancel. I'm gonna guess that you've had lots of different difficulties that or roadblocks that you weren't actually expecting.
Yeah.
So how do you then overcome that and kind of, you know, get past those roadblocks?
Well, so again, a lot of it for me comes back down to intention and belief. And when those things happen, especially when it comes to, say for instance, a venue pulls out, there are certain things that you have to, depending on the time scale of which they've done this, people will often have to check in and check in with themselves and go, right, okay, is this viable? Obviously, but there's also a question of tenacity, which you build as you keep growing. Now, these are things that are small and incremental. The first few events, the first few steps you take into any market may be tentative, but that's okay. Tentative steps are okay. Little by little is a great way of doing this, you know, one foot in front of the other. I always used to have this, there's a song by Ruby Throat, and there's this little bit in it where the lead singer is saying, you know, one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. And it became a bit of a mantra for me when I was, you know, working long hours doing a full-time job, you know, running 4 stores. When I was working in retail, at one point I was running 4 stores in very different parts of the country. So I was often fielding calls at all different times of the day and working very late and, you know, no time off and that sort of thing. Still doing also gigs and working and trying to establish myself. And there were lots of points along the way where you were tired and you were just like, oh my God. And checking in with, again, your passion and intention, but also remembering that it's a process of footstep after footstep, and also trying to reposition away from watching what other people are doing to a certain degree and getting over professional jealousy is a thing that takes time. This is, again, what we call imposter syndrome, and it is a process of working through these things. There is no simple secret. There is no simple way of doing things. It is a process. It is a case of one foot in front of the other. And each time you do one of those things, each time you take that next step, you get more bold and you get more emboldened, and you allow yourself to start claiming that space that is yours.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that, you know, each time you produce a show, the same things can happen. So, but it's just building that resilience as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
As well as tenacity of kind of like, okay, I know how to recover from this. I've got some stuff in my toolkit, and you can recover. So if a performer drops out at the last minute, then you have have experience with that. You can do what you need to do with that.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of, you can only control the controllables. As you've said to me a number of occasions, you can only control the controllables.
I'm like, hang on, that sounds like advice that's very good advice that you've been given.
Just came to me.
Amazing. You get all these messages from seemingly nowhere.
Just being called.
Amazing.
But yes, it is a case of building some of those things up, and there's certain things that you learn along the way that will be able to sort of to advance you further. So for instance, as you say, you build up a resilience, you build up a tenacity, and you build up a toolkit. So there's things that you won't know from the very beginning. that you will find as you go on. And the more that we learn as we go along in our any chosen professional field, the more we're able to work within it and more effectively, because we understand its nuances. You know, we understand how those mechanics work. You know, the first time we do something is never perfect. Never. You know, there's always something we can change. There's always something we can tweak or perfect or rework. It's very much a process of revision and tenacity and passion. Again, I always bring it back down to the same thing, which is, if you are truly passionate about it, you will continue to learn about it and understand its nuance, its little miniature ways of doing things, you know.
Yeah, amazing. Well, and there's great lessons in it for all of us, because you know, we always feel like we're the only one and it's happening to us. And you know, we've hit a few unexpected roadblocks with Confidence Through Cabaret, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Hacking,
Yeah.
blocking, all kinds of things.
Exactly.
Learn.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that we can accept that this is going to happen, but also being able to recognize that it happens to us all.
Yeah.
When we're trying to go through that process is really good advice. Thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Amazing. Hey, thank you for having me on my own community, is what he's really saying here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. We're getting some burlesque as well. Cool.
Yeah, the worst leg lift I've ever done. Yes, just for all of you watching. Ow.
Don't do a lot better.
I can't. At this point in lockdown, I know that we don't want to date this, but at the same time, this point in lockdown, flexibility is a dream that I once had.
Well, you know, it's we're just doing what we need to do, and if flexibility is not your passion, then that's fair.
Right.
But thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your insights. Thank you for sharing those transferable moments that we can all pivot from. And I'm going to say, and you can say this with me, this is Confidence Through Cabaret, reminding you
that it's
your
body,
your world,
your stage.
your stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much.